This is Park Se-jun Dokjoa. You've seen lots of TV advertisements for Dokjoa, haven't you? Great to see you. If you listen to this lecture, obesity, diabetes, atopy, hypertension, depilation, menstrual cramps, infertility, constipation, lung cancer, and any incurable diseases in the hospital will be cured, thus making you and your wife younger and live longer without illness. The secret is so simple. If you can understand fermentation and spoilage, you will be immediately a famous doctor who can control them. I am a lifetime inventor who ran the business that should be successful when bacteria were understood. That must be my destiny. My first project was to make the composting of organic waste such as food waste. In 1998, there was a technology competition to design a 100-ton food waste composting facility held by Siheung City, Gyeonggi Province, and my proposal was selected as the best technology in competition with 7 large enterprises, and I designed and constructed it myself. This technology was also awarded the Presidential Prize at the 2001 Korea Patent Technology Exhibition held annually by the government. Previously, hundreds of researchers who received master's and doctoral degrees and worked for large corporations had been awarded the prize. When I received the award, who graduated an elementary school only, KBS covered this news exclusively.
Today we are going to introduce you a brilliant inventor whose highest level of education is elementary school, yet who has received an award of this year's inventor with his continuous and effortless research for the last 20 years. Let's connect to Lee Gi-moon.
I'm here at a place where fertilizers are being made from 50 tons of food compost generated from Siheung-si of Gyeonggi-do. In general, fertilizers are made from food compost had an issue with high salt concentration, but the salt concentration of this fertilizer is only 0.07%, which is much lower than 1%, which is the standard value. These are distributed to neighbor farms for free. It's a natural fertilizer at its finest quality, which is being loved by a number of farmers in organic farming. This entire facility was developed by Mr. Park Se-jun, the enthusiastic, eco-friendly entrepreneur. This all started with an idea that even trash can be useful. Waste management can be crucial. I thought waste could also be a good raw material for something else, and that's when I started developing my idea. Mr. Park holds few patents, including the technology for removing alien substances like plastic bags and the technology for reducing salinity by adding water. Mr. Park's highest education is elementary school, and it does not prevent him from obtaining a total of 38 patents for the last 22 years. I always try to locate an issue I have in my daily life and always analyze how to solve the problem. During this continuous process, I have reached a level where I could invent high technology like this. Mr. Park has won a presidential award at Korea's patent convention and is challenging to invent world's best sewage facility. Lee Gi-moon, KBS News. When the food waste compost facility, which was reported in the news, was 3 or 4 years old, it was swarming with terrible odor and flies. As 100 tons of daily food waste were brought in and 3,000 tons were decomposed for 30 days, terrible smell that cannot be expressed by words did not allow people to open their eyes and may have suffocated you immediately if you breathed in there. The way to solve odors was food spoilage. So if you change the spoilage into fermentation, the odor will be solved. So I used all of the microorganisms that were known as the most effective, as well as EM, but they turned out to be useless. At that time, I got a great idea that the germs were like the animal's world. There must be weak germs like frogs and strong ones like tigers in the animal's world. I thought that there would be spoilage bacteria and their enemies like the relationship between a rat and a cat. It was believed that the fermenting bacteria that ferment toxic plants such as lacquer tree with high sterilization power and life-threatening acetonium, aconite, and Pulsatilla coreana could be a natural enemy of the spoilage bacteria. In response, I collected the toxic plants and sprayed them on the compost material. The world's first miracle was occurred, just like turning it into residential living rooms. Let's see this news clip covered by MBN News. Waste handling facilities are one of the properties that residents try to avoid the most due to its strong odor. It has drawn people's attention to one SME invented a technology of removing the odor by utilizing. Let's listen to Kim Jung-won. 2 years ago, this food compost recycling facility located at Siheung-si, Gyeonggi-do had lots of issues in regards to the bad odor that was caused when the waste was being decomposed. However, this facility had no more of the same issues when microorganism developed by an SME was added. I couldn't walk into a food court because of the terrible odor. Since they started adding the microorganism, I can't smell it anymore. Xiangxi requested Sanitation Environment Laboratory of Gyeonggi-do to run an odor test, and the results showed that none of the 12 odors occurred anymore. Microorganisms are released from a nozzle. On average, 80 tons of food compost are handled by 50 liters of microorganisms every day. This type of microorganisms is the world's first microorganism. This is very effective in removing the odor as well as driving flies away. Last year, Mr. Park had obtained domestic patents for inventing 17 microorganisms, and he had also applied for international patents as well. The company also added a note that these microorganisms help livestock grow healthier and fight diseases when added to livestock feed without using any antibiotics. According to the research on this substitution effect of antibiotics conducted by Rural Development Administration, livestock fed with microorganisms feed grew healthier. The company is planning for active improvement on foreign and domestic markets as well as equipping with large-size manufacture facilities. Kim Jong-un, MBN News. As you watched in the news, I saw that the natural environment had been deteriorated by 3,000 tons of food waste and was cured, and I promised my employees that we would create a mythology of Korea by freeing animals like dogs, chickens, and pigs, and human beings from diseases. Now the promise has become a reality. At that time, I was 60 years old. I had tinnitus in my ear, chronic fatigue, and erectile dysfunction. On the first day of eating the enzyme food fermented with microorganisms, I experienced a miracle that I did not feel tired even when driving from Seoul to Gwangju metropolitan city. As a result of having family and friends experience the food, it was found that food poisoning diarrhea that hadn't been fixed by antibiotics was stopped in an hour. They also informed me of not having diarrhea despite that they drank soju, beers, and medical alcohols and makgeolli a lot. Immediately after getting test results from several universities, I named the microorganism SJP superlactic acid bacteria after my full name, Sejun Park, and applied for patents all over the world and made SJP enzyme feedstuff factory for massive production and promoted them by visiting regional communities for the farmers of pigs, chickens, and cows. Let me recreate the lecture that I gave to the market pig farmers at that time. Dear pig farmers, all animals, including humans as well as pigs, ferment nutrients in the intestines, where fermenting bacteria make enzymes that are energy for life activities. Decaying bacteria cause ammonia hydrogen sulfide, which is the source of all kinds of diseases, and hybrid bacteria rely on strong ones. They are all in symbiotic relationship, so if you can have cattle and humans defecate odorless excrement, you do not have to worry about pathogenic bacteria or virus infection because of the high levels of immunity. However, imported feed is a problematic issue. As the standard of customs for feed imports specifies that decayed or worm-eaten food is to be returned, the feed mixed with a large amount of preservatives and insecticide is usually imported. The day after you eat processed foods, smell the bathroom. There should have a much stronger bad odor. The cause is that the fermenting bacteria that make the enzymes are killed or atrophied by the preservatives, while decaying bacteria are proliferating. When pigs and cows eat foodstuff mixed with preservatives, you'll find lots of undigested ones having stinky smell and flies. It's undeniable evidence that preservatives kill antimicrobial bacteria and accelerate decaying bacteria. The disinfection of pig farms causes severe bad smells from excrement. This is why fermenting bacteria died and the spoilage bacteria multiplied. People are the same. If you consume processed foods containing a lot of food additives such as preservatives, you will also defecate odor excrement and are likely to suffer from obesity, atopic dermatitis, psoriasis, and diabetes. Therefore, the World Health Organization has announced that highly processed meat products are a first-class carcinogenic substance. If you have trouble ventilating overnight at a pig farm in the winter, all the pigs will be dead. The toxin is a stinking gas that causes massive death. Do you not spray liquor disinfectants on livestock that cannot die to live in the harsh environment of bad odors and flies, designating every Wednesday as the day of preventative measure against epidemics? That is why the pig farm mortality rate is no less than 42.8% of government statistics. The excrements on which disinfectants were sprayed do not ferment, so it cannot be used as compost, but it causes red tide. If you were utilizing SJP lactobacillus, you would change the spoilage into fermentation and could be rich and save land and the environment. But I'm sorry to know you are not using it yet. How many people died in the hospital by putting the disinfectant into a humidifier? Were you affected? Nevertheless, whenever a foot-and-mouth disease broke out anywhere in the country, disinfectants are used widely nationwide, and thus weakening the level of immunity of livestock, facilitating a foot-and-mouth disease and AI to spread repeatedly throughout the country every year. In the summer, the body's enzymes are not used to maintain body temperature so that humans and livestock do not catch a cold. The spread of AI in the summer indicates the end of the livestock industry, and the WHO has predicted that the antibiotic-resistant superbacteria might destroy 60% of human beings. No one can guarantee that the bacteria would not outbreak in Korea, the kingdom of sanitizing disinfection, the kingdom of pesticide use, and the kingdom of antibiotic use. There is no history of the development of disinfectants that catch viruses in this world. The only way to neutralize viruses is to boost immunity of humans and animals. The best way to boost your immune system is that you should keep your intestines healthy by eating the enemies of spoilage bacteria so that the nutrients do not get decayed and defecate odorless excrement. Take a look at the excrement of cows, pigs, and chickens that feed on a mixture of a ton of imported feed and 1 to 2 kilograms of SJP enzyme that I developed. There is not a single grain of indigestible feed and no odor at all. In the case of pigs, the feed is reduced by more than 20%, and the shipment date is shortened by 25 days. Furthermore, stinky smells, the largest headache of the livestock farm, is solved, and the livestock manure is fermented naturally and used as a good quality compost that the demands of hot pepper and fruit growers are growing for. There's no need to worry about treating pig excrements, and green algae is prevented as well. You can be wealthy when you manage the excrement yourself instead of having employees do so. When pigs are raised, farmers do not smell because they are already resistant to the odor of pig excrement. When neighbors bring up their complaints, the farmer should be grateful and be happy to change spoilage into fermentation, and then they will be wealthier. I gave a lecture and promoted my products every day and all over the country. We'll watch an in-depth news into pig farm broadcasted on YTN.
Livestock sludge had been one of the biggest issues of stock farms, but a number of recycling technology has been developed. It has drawn lots of attention since these technology handles the sludge easily and utilize them as a resource as well. Reported by Kim Hak-moo.
This farm raises 3,000 pigs. They feed these pigs with feeds along with some special powder. This powder was made by cultivating microorganisms from the soil. While the pigs are being fed, liquids mixed with the same powder are sprayed here and there inside the pig pen. By doing this, the odor from livestock sludge decreases by 90% and the sludge completely becomes liquid within 2 to 3 days. The mortality rate of baby pigs greatly decreased from 40 to 5%, and there is no need for antibiotics. Sulfuric acid gas and ammonia gas are volatilized within 1 to 2 hours, and the odor is gone completely within 2 to 3 days. Then only the smell of pig is left. This odorless liquefied sludge can be applied to farmlands, and they will make the soil richer and increase the resistibility against disease and pests. This helps eco-friendly farming because it does not involve any of the chemical fertilizer while making fruit bigger and richer in its taste. We need to pay more attention to these recycling technologies for livestock sludge. Kim Hak-moo, YTN. As you watched from the news, within the 3rd year of SJP enzyme feed business, I witnessed hundreds of millions of pigs, cows, chickens, and pet dogs cured and then got my personal mission to save people. Thus, I borrowed 4.2 billion won from a bank and built fermented food factory. I will recreate a lecture that I did at the time to supply the product to the Oriental clinics, pharmacies, and hospitals. Dear medical professionals, I am holding more than 200 patents of my invention that I created without anyone's help in 12 specialty fields, including mechanical engineering, environmental engineering, fermentation engineering, and medical studies, and have written more than 50 books to share the wisdom that I realized from my experience. Today, I would like to talk about the odor of intestinal fermentation, spoilage, and fart odors that have not been educated in any medical and oriental medical studies. SJP enzyme food is not a drug that cannot cure any disease. The superlactobacillus propagates intestinal fermenting bacteria and suppresses spoilage ones so that the food that the patient eats is absorbed into the enzyme, which makes cells become healthier and inhibits hair loss and athlete's foot. You should know why hospitals cannot treat even visible diseases such as obesity and atopic dermatitis. Drugs are chemicals that address the toxins that kill fermenting bacteria. Fermenting bacteria are workers who make enzymes soon. It is abnormal that killing or shrinking workers leads to effective treatment. The intestine is a cell restaurant that determines the life of 60 trillion cells for the human body. When the cell restaurant is rotten and poisonous, cells become ill and foods are fermented, thus becoming enzyme, activating disease cells and helping them become healthier and cured. In the 2nd century BC, Hippocrates stated that the truth of medicine, that the illness that cannot be cured by food cannot be cured by medicine. According to a study by the Korea Food and Drug Administration on the absorption ratio of saponin under the condition that Koreans consume red ginseng, there was 37.5% of total samples who could not absorb 1%. The reason for not absorbing the saponin is because it does not have fermentation bacteria that decompose and absorb saponin. The finding proves that any precious medicine can be rather poisonous when you take any kinds of oriental medicine but can't absorb it. When I fermented white ginseng and requested the Ginseng Research Institute of Chungang University to analyze the elements, the finding was that the amount of saponin increased ginsenoside enzyme by more than 50 in the general fermentation. If Siberian ginseng is pretty good but not effective for joints, it can be said that there is no bacterium that breaks down the nutrients in the intestines, and it is decomposed and excreted. Therefore, the Oriental Medicine Clinic must prescribe fermented Chinese medicine. Intestine, blood, brain, and skin cleanness mean that clean intestines to clean blood, brain, and skin. When a woman who menstruates breastfeeds, the odorless defecations done over a month or two create no black color in the menstrual blood, radical improvement in skin quality, absence or reduction in menstrual pain, which proves that clean intestines lead to clean blood. Let me introduce manufacturing methods for SJP enzyme food. Because essential nutrients for 60 trillion cells of the eyes, brain, liver, lungs, and joints are different, we are fermenting 17 grains and 70 kinds of herbal medicines and superlactic acid bacteria. It is a patented fermenting process that collects all essential nutrients for 60 trillion cells, has the fermentation bacteria function appropriately in a digestive system and intestine, and make enzyme in a fermentation plant. When you eat food, it must be decomposed by fermentation bacteria into enzymes and absorbed into the intestines. However, fermented enzymes in the fermentation plant are absorbed simultaneously with ingestion, so you don't need to worry about fatigue and diarrhea while in travel. You would not suffer from hangover in the following morning after drinking beer, soju, makgeolli, foreign liquors, whatever you take. As long as you pay attention to excessive drinking, you will get benefits from our product in overseas long-distance driving and any sports that require robust physical strength. It is an emergency food that you put in your office in pouches and to your car. In particular, our product is effective at improving the physical fitness of Olympic athletes and 100% preventing their fatigue at the Olympic Games. As there is no misfortune for a gold medal to be a silver medal at the Olympics, I am taking chairman of the Korea Table Tennis Association of the Disabled and aiming at winning more gold medals at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games than those won at the Rio Games and enhancing national prestige. Let's take a look at the testimony that the products were already provided to the handicapped table tennis athletes and improve their physical strength and abilities.
Less tired than usual. Taking every morning and night. Taking CI in the morning during the practice. I feel much less tired than usual. I take CI every morning and night. I take them in the morning, usually during my training. I obviously eat less snacks and I feel much better on my stomach. Practice leads to muscle fatigue, and CI definitely helps when I practice. Yes, I love CI.
I take a package of CI a day. I used to have such a hard time waking up in the morning before I started taking CI because we always had to wake up early for practice, and practice lasts until late at night. Since I started taking CI, I can wake up in the morning just fine. I didn't feel too much difference for the first couple of days when I first started taking CI, but now I feel better and better when I wake up, so I take them every day now. There's a competition every week. CI improves players to concentrate better with higher agility. We have a competition every weekend, and I can see that the players have performed better in terms of their concentration and their agility. Players usually tend to be a little bit more distracted later in the day in the afternoon, but it has changed since they started taking CI, and it seems to help their performance. Twice a day on an empty stomach. I mix them together and take them on an empty stomach in the morning. I mix them right away and take them again at night. It helps the players recover fast, which means the players will have better concentration and higher agility during the match. In addition, we will watch an interview that we provided the SJP enzyme food in 2016 to climbing members of Gumi City, Gyeongbuk Province, who conquered 7 continents, and the food became a contributor to conquering the highest peak of South Africa and the peak conquest of Mount Everest in 2017. Hello, my name is Che Chung-kwon, and I'm the lead of this mountain climbing group to Mount Everest. We heard about CI, and we brought some along with us, thinking that this is one of the health foods on the markets. As a matter of fact, we faced a number of issues with our meals once we passed beyond the base camp, because there's less oxygen, which makes it difficult for us to digest the food, and eventually it led us to have diarrhea. Since after taking CI, we could gradually see that we were able to recover faster from being exhausted, as well as to resolve issues with digestion and diarrhea. We had CI with water even when we were climbing, and we felt much less exhausted. I would like to thank the manufacturer of CI for making this great product. Hello, my name is Jang Han Mo, and I'm the second leader of this mountain climbing group to Mount Everest. We were given CI from the manufacturer back then in 2015, and I started taking it then. At a height of over 5,000 meters, you face a number of issues including headaches and fatigue. Most of all, indigestion is the worst. And that led me to think, what type of lactobacillus can I bring with me and how? We were given the stick packaging type CI at the time. I had no taste and smell as well. It was easy to take them since we didn't have to mix them with water at the level of 5,000 meters. We also took the granular type as well. So, thanks to CI, no member of the group really suffered from diarrhea or digestion. I went to Mount Everest again 2 years after that, and we were given CI again. Same here, none of us had to suffer from diarrhea or indigestion. I really thank CI for that.
Hello, my name is Kang Kyung-suk, and I am a member of the mountain climbing group to Mount Everest. I was in charge of taking care of the food back in 2015. People suffer from diarrhea and indigestion once you reach the point at a level of 5,000 meters, However, we took CI and all of my members didn't have to go through the painful procedure and none of us was exhausted. It helped us so much. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Im Jung-kun, also a member of the Mountain Climbing Group. I mixed CI with beverages like milk, and I could feel that I was getting enough energy and nutrition. I didn't get a chance to eat much food, but the CI powder helped me so much. Thank you. The fermented bacillus inside intestine dissolve the food and then it becomes enzyme. On the other hand, CI has been fermented already at the manufacturer, and this is why the absorption happens so fast. Even though there's no fermented bacillus inside the intestine, CI can be absorbed very quickly, and as a result, it really prevents you from being exhausted. Suffering from food poisoning or diarrhea? Taking this will resolve the issue within an hour. That's why people say that you can stay healthy if your intestine is healthy as well. As shown in the interviews, the lack of oxygen has climbers suffer from dysfunctional digestion and frequent diarrhea. Those who took our product Chungin all spoke that they freed from these problems and could prevent fatigue, so it was a great help for the conquest. I would very appreciate it if you could cooperate in order for our athletes to win a bunch of gold medals at the Tokyo Olympic Games. If the hospital provides SJP enzyme food instead of white rice, I'm sure that it can support Korea like the Mayo Clinic Hospital that feeds a city of the U.S. When it comes to how fatal of a poisonous gas your fart odor is, a state of a coma is a hepatic encephalopathy with a weak ability of your liver to detoxify. If you go to an emergency room in the hospital, medical staff do not treat your dysfunctional liver, but clean your large intestine, don't they? 70 to 80% of patients with dementia do not chew food due to the lack of teeth, so it is not digested in the small intestines, but the toxic gas generated from the decayed food in the large intestine causes abnormalities in brain cells, gout, and aging. Therefore, ill-smelling farts will eventually lead to big health issues. As I finish my lecture, I would like to state one thing. As medical doctors try to treat a patient, even hair loss is incurable. Meanwhile, there is no incurable disease given that they are helpful to strengthen the immunity of the patient. The first clinical presentation you will watch is the research findings from 300 patients conducted by Professor Park Woo-hyun, who holds Doctors of Medicine, Korean Medicine, and Chinese Medicine, and serves as the head of German Dongso Medical Center. I had concerns about in which aspect we are utilizing our enzymes, and I would like to make a statement on the correlation between the enzymes and the infection we have in our joints, nerves, and in the blood. Secondly, the correlation between enzymes and sports. He thinks the only way you can test negative on a drug test when utilizing enzymes is to have the enzyme. We will also walk through the difference between the pre- and post-surgery as well as pre- and post-cancer treatment. We will also walk over the difference when the patients took the enzymes or not. Then we will go over the issues with the immunity. Now to rheumatitis. He cures himself of the rheumatitis. He had it since he was 10 years old, but now it is 99% cured. He will explain this into more detail with diagrams. He had lung patients, 10 of them, which he will explain with more details and diagrams. A large amount of enzyme is needed when you have to give out your responses very quickly, rapidly. So especially for students who are taking exams, they require them 3 to 5 times more than usual. SJP enzyme is known to have a greater impact than Germany's best medicine when treating diarrhea. It is known that German medicine can damage your liver, which SPT doesn't do at all. Most of all, it's natural as well. When lips are cracking, especially cracking genital organs for ladies, enzyme comes really effective. SJP enzyme would be even better. Enzyme is effective when fluid kicks in the lung or when you have a pulmonary edema. Also in blood clots. The blood pressure is lowered for breast cancer, for prostate, and for arteries. Agnostic response can be expected against diabetes, as well as obesity and hypertension. Since 1989, the enzyme had been used in order to treat the diseases of all medical fields. In 1990, agnostic response was identified when treating multiple sclerosis. We were treating more than 300 patients at our hospital, and more than 90% of them now have completely normal lives. Enzyme is used in treatments for cancer, when you have a headache, diarrhea, when you start to lose your hair due to radiation therapy. All bacteria, including superbacteria, have been used as well. A person could even win a Nobel Prize if he published a paper that could prove that this Korean SJP enzyme could fight against superbacteria. This is indeed something for a Nobel Prize. Lots of Europeans die every year because of superbacteria. SJP superenzyme has been prescribed and examined for breast cancer nodules since 1996. I have seen cases where it became 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters after the treatment from the original size of 3 centimeters to 4 centimeters. I do have the supporting data. This is a miracle. Enzyme is really effective, especially female breast nodules are stiff. Now, if you neglect it, there's a potential that it might develop into breast cancer. If a patient is carrying hepatitis B, it gradually degrades the function of the body. It's now treated for osteomyelitis, diabetes, applicable to diabetes and blood clot. There had been infection on the eyes in 2000, correct? It is on our website that the enzyme is being used for eye infections as well. The case where the patient has been treated and cured was on the website, and a lot of people made a visit to us from reading those articles and in the news, and many of them are almost blind. If I do not treat them, I'm sure that they will go blind in 3 days. I've seen patients as young as students. I treated them with this method, and it definitely stopped their blindness. You don't go blind anymore. It gradually heals as well. In half the cases, the patients can have their normal sight back within 6 months to a year. This is also a miracle. You know, these diseases that cost thousands and thousands of dollars just for treatment, including cardiac insufficiency, right? With kidney dialysis, enzyme has been known to be effective for this type of treatment as well. Uric acid, you know where the big toe comes swollen due to uric acid. Enzymes are being applied to balance out the pH saturation in order to treat uric acid, and this is really helpful. The overall impact of enzyme to strengthen the level of immunity, restrain swelling, and decreasing transforming growth factor, the level of immunity is increasing. If a patient takes enzymes and infection is being treated as well, which leads to restrained swelling. The agony is diminishing. The transforming growth factor decreases when this enzyme is taken. TGF keeps increasing when receiving radiotherapy treatments for cancer, which worsens the health and causes hair loss. However, if the patient takes the enzyme, that is not the case anymore. The difference is almost 3 to 4 times. The patients without the enzyme cry out in the dark because of their pain, and the adrenaline kicks in. However, the enzyme decreases adrenaline and lets the patients sleep really well. Health worsening happening due to the increase of CD44 when the patient has cancer. How do we cure cancer by just utilizing the enzyme? We take the enzyme with our mouth, and that's what's happening. CD44 is the typical cancer cell. Tumor necrosis factor keeps increasing, which causes CD44 to increase as well. This destroys the body. But if you take the enzyme, CD44 significantly decreases, especially if Korean SJP enzyme is used. The speed of the cure is even more accelerated. That's why the speed of cancer metastasis is gradually slowed down and the pale face becomes rosy again. This figure represents stomach and intestine. This patient has only received the regular treatments for cancer, and this patient had received the regular treatments along with the enzyme. In other words, only one group received the enzyme. You can refer to the time frame of this in regard to the side effects, diarrhea, nausea, and the 23-hour time. Take a very close look at these figures. The yellow is treated with enzyme and shows a good progress starting from the first week, even though it is quite less compared to this. It keeps like that for the second and third week, and there are lots of side effects in the fourth and fifth weeks. So patients who were treated with the enzyme for 11 weeks showed that the numerical value had significantly decreased. When taking enzyme for the fourth and fifth week, it still shows good progress. However, when taking enzymes continuously for 3 months after the 11th week, the cancer cells and the radiation had dropped down significantly. So what am I proposing here? Should you take the enzyme for a few days and quit, or should you continuously take the enzyme? Our data clearly shows that you have to take the enzyme continuously. This is skin. It was stomach and intestine before. Now we're switching over to skin. Cancer treatment on skin cancer patients causes side effects, including agony and nausea from the 5th week to the 11th week. Patients with skin cancer usually appeal to the pain from the 5th week, and it becomes very severe by the 11th week. They can't go to sleep at night. I had a group of patients like that, and they were treated with the enzyme, and I was able to see a lot of progress in them. By the 25th week of the 30th week, it drops down a lot. This concludes the enzyme is also effective against skin cancer. The womb is a very sensitive part of the body. The acidity is especially high for females. When you have a treatment with radiotherapy, it bleeds after 1 month. The womb is very dry and causes a lot of agony. It's a type of pain that we males can never understand. If the enzyme is treated against uterine cancer, the dryness is gone and eventually stops bleeding as well. The results show that the SJP enzyme is more effective than Japanese enzymes. The results show that SJP enzyme is more effective than Japanese enzymes. These are extremely expensive. The agony of the 11th week is at its maximum because female genital organs obviously are very, very sensitive. 1,242 colorectal cancer patients have been treated at the hospital. 616 were treated with enzymes, and the other 626 were not. Both groups were treated with radiotherapy and cancer treatments. 616 suffered from the after effects, and some eventually died from it. On the other hand, 626 had a good life quality, and there was no need for taking additional medicine. All they needed was just enzyme to keep them healthy. This has been published in international academic journals. Tens of doctors are involved in this study, as well as a number of cancer patients. This is undisputable. Yes, this is a 33-year-old patient. She's pregnant. She visited us because she had a problem with platelets. It kept decreasing, down to 90,000. It should be at least at 250,000, but it keeps decreasing. It eventually dropped down to 53,000, and that's when we used SJP enzyme twice a day, day and night. It went back to 60,000, 68,000, 180,000, and eventually 190,000. This patient's tongue was coated, about 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters, where the tongue could hardly be seen because it was completely coated. He had a problem with his small intestine or large intestine, and steroids were prescribed for a little while. But after the SJP was given to him, it was for twice a day for 3 weeks. Acupuncture was also performed on him. But after 4 weeks, all this coating was gone. Patient was female, 44 years old, a breast cancer patient. Every treatment was done on her, including radiotherapy and cancer treatment. She took SJP enzyme every day, and the situation with vomiting and defecating had become much, much better. Patient said that she felt like she was alive again for the very first time. So she felt like her body was very light and lively. This patient is a 40-year-old female with hyperthyroidism. The patient took 30 grams of SJP enzyme twice a day, and she became much better from the third day. She was almost back to normal from the third week, and the hyperthyroidism had diminished significantly. This is hand, foot, and mouth disease. Patient's 4 years old. Holes were present everywhere in the mouth. 5 grams of SJP enzyme was taken, and everything disappeared after 1 week. The patient's doctor couldn't perform the operation before and was really surprised seeing him being completely cured. Last of all, she is a 52-year-old lady who had been smoking for the past 37 years. She's up to COPD level 4, and she's at level 3, which means she's waiting for her death. For 2 months, she'd been taking a large amount of SJP enzyme. Before that, she had to spit out phlegm very often, couldn't walk, not able to walk up the stairs. But now she can climb upstairs and is able to walk on flat surfaces without too many issues. I most deal with patients with allergies, and I know that they are incurable. I would say allergies are not obstinate, but rather incurable. Korea is not an allergy-free country, but interestingly, there are no allergies in Iran or Africa. She's a 20-year-old female and had to take her pills for allergies every day, a bag of 30 grams every day. But now she does not have to take pills anymore like that. She only has to take pills once a week, and the cancer rate dropped down a lot. Her health had become much better against bronchial asthma, and the phlegm is gone. You can live healthier and longer if you eat aronio. If you have SJP enzyme on top of that, it's like the frosting on the cake. Effective on anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory effect. Phenol in blueberries is 4.12. This is the strongest, and it has 25.56. Aronia, apple, strawberries, these are all very good for you. You drank it. If it's all the same price, you would want to take aronia. If you eat aronia, apple, strawberry, rather than raspberries and blueberries, there are more antioxidants, which can kill all the electromagnetic waves and atomic waves, which can cause cancer. Adding enzymes along with this is even more perfect. Next, I would like to show you the presentation by Dr. Bak Sang-dong of Dongseo Oriental Hospital, which is a joint medical center for both Western and Oriental medicine. I've seen patients for 48 years, and I knew atopic disease is something that cannot easily be cured. But this enzyme is something. This patient with atopic disease was treated at university hospitals and was also hospitalized at my hospital as well for 3 times. It was severe everywhere from head to toe, but his skin was a mess, but everything was back within 2 months. He came to say his thanks right after his military service, and I believe that this is the only cure against severe atopic diseases. I think it is really effective for digestive system and irritable bowel syndrome. I guess in general, this enzyme is really effective against adult disease. The following is a clinical presentation of Dr. Kim Tae-gyun managing a hospital in Chuncheon with SJP enzyme food and without medicine.
Last December, an 80-year-old grandpa visited us from Seoul. He was a primary lung cancer patient, but a lump sized of a quarter was found on his right lung. He was coughing, and the cold was never cured. So they found the cancer, and the doctor suggested him that he should get a surgery right away. But the grandpa said no because he is too old for it. Since it has been 4 months, he's been taking SJP enzyme, and we were curious if there was any change. The X-ray clearly showed that the lump on his right lung was gone. It was indeed very surprising that the harmful tissue had disappeared. She is a 4-year-old, and she started having atopic disease from 12 months. Of course, we have been using steroids and also had to use antibiotics because she had lots of wounds as well. It has been 45 days now. There are only scars left. 2 months later, her mom came with her to get some more enzyme, and I was able to see that she was in her full recovery. Now, she is only taking the enzyme. I had psoriasis for more than 10 years. It was okay for the first few years, but only for the first few years. He works at construction sites, and he was very stressed out 2-3 years ago. Check this out. Look at his back and also his face. This is the worst I have ever seen. His entire body is like that. What's the worst part is that he cannot sleep. From few years back, he started taking sleeping pills because he has to sleep in order to work the day after. I give treatments to all my patients in a way that their intestine can be healthy again by controlling the body temperature and having them eat salt. Very simple. I have taken enzyme and salt along with the 2 to 3 therapy sessions of immune system program of intestine detoxification. Now I can sleep again without the sleeping pill. I have become so much better just within 26 days. My back used to be like this, but here I am now. You can see everything over here. The color on my arms faded as well. You can't guarantee that you will become better and better. By doing this, there might be ups and downs, but eventually you will become better. I treated my patients with microorganism and with body temperature control, and all these positive effects have started on patients. This patient is male, 35 years old, 168 centimeters, 91 kilograms. Yes, he is quite heavy. He lost 6.7 kilograms in 10 days, especially on his belly. 50-year-old male, 175 centimeters and 109 kilograms. He had a fatty liver because he got too much fat. After you become fat excessively, your liver gets fat as well. Liver somatic index is less than 40 and below 45, 177/216. I can say that he has hepatitis. Moreover, his neutral fat is at 429, and as we all know, less than 150 is normal. The treatment is still the same. He takes enzyme, he receives the heat treatment, and eats some salt. He used to look like this a month ago, but he now looks like this. He is a good-looking man, and everyone around him is very surprised. However, the more surprising part comes now. He lost 5.4 kilograms in a month. His body fat was 7.3 kilograms, and visceral fat was from 14 to 12. It is very difficult to lose some visceral fat. What's important here is that the figure was calculated just 2 days ago. The liver fat dropped down from 177 to 64, 216 to 118. No medication helped me like this ever before. Neutral fat also dropped from 429 to 223 within a month. This is not a panacea, but it does help the body system operate better.
I invented this native superbacillus and took it to the College of Medicine at Keimyung University. Now we're going to watch a video of the survival test that was conducted at the university. Hello, I'm Professor Jang Byung-chul of Medical School at Keimyung University. I would like to talk about the details of the research and service agreement between Mr. Park Se-jun of Entech Bio Company Limited and the Industry-University relation at Keimyung University. The title of this research and service agreement is The Effects of Probiotics SJP Lactobacillus on Proliferation and Number of Human Cancer Cells and the Analysis of Action Mechanism in regard to this. The research was conducted for 6 months from December 2011 to June 2012. The research was conducted by the team of Professor Jang Byung-chul at Medical Genetics Engineering Classroom of Medical School of Keimyung University. The research has reviewed the impact on proliferation of a number of human cancer cells from metabolites created by SJP lactobacillus, which has enzymes and other metabolites. Provided by Entech Bio, SJP lactobacillus metabolites were administered to HCT116 and HCT29 cells, which are the human colorectal cancer cells. As shown in the figure, it is demonstrated that more than 80% of the group, where 200 microliters of HCT116 was added, had decreased proliferation when they were handled for 24 hours, with varying concentrations of lactobacillus metabolites. Moreover, the analysis of the impact of SJP lactobacillus metabolite on proliferation of prostate cancer and liver cancer showed that the survival rate of prostate cancer was decreased by 70% when 200 microliters of LN-CAP prostate cancer was handled with SJP lactobacillus metabolite for 22 hours. In addition, when 200 of SJP lactobacillus metabolite is added to the liver cancer cell, HepG2, the number of cells have decreased by 40%. The analysis of the impact of SJP lactobacillus metabolite on proliferation of breast cancer cells and renal cancer cells showed that almost no breast cancer cells were visible anymore when 200 microliters of SJP lactobacillus metabolite was administered to MDA-MB213, the breast cancer. Moreover, when 200 microliters of SJP lactobacillus metabolite was administered for 22 hours to Kaki cells, the colorectal cancer cells, there has been almost more than 90% decrease in the proliferation of renal cancer cells. In conclusion, it was identified that it was shown that SJP lactobacillus metabolite had restrained effect on proliferation of a number of human cancer cells, including colorectal cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, and renal cancer. Here is a video reporting the treatment of a disease caused by a defoliant. I went to the Marine Corps and was dispatched on March 1967. At that time, I was the platoon leader of the 2nd Platoon at the 27th Company. One day, a plane flew by, and all the leaves fell on the ground a few days later. Then my soldiers picked them up and put them on their skin. And I asked them why. They told me that if they do that, the mosquitoes do not bite them for another month. Vietnamese mosquitoes are very small and terrible. I had no idea of what defoliant that was. I used to drink, eat, and smoke without any issues for like 10 years. However, after 10 years, I started having diarrhea. and these symptoms started to show one by one. One day, I was diagnosed with a skin disease called psoriasis vulgaris. My skin would shrink with the bloody pus, and I could never describe how painful it is. I was thinking I would rather die than experience this pain. I tried everything in desperation, and I got to know about this enzyme. I first started taking them in May of last year. I could see the change little by little. First of all, I used to have a swollen prostate. I'm not sure how it happened, but I got a swollen prostate. But not anymore. It's all gone. I don't know how. I didn't even have to get surgery. It just went away. I used to weigh around 68 to 70 kilograms. I weighed myself today before I came here, and right now I weigh about 61.5 kilograms. I feel like the second act of my life has become with the help of SJP, and I would like to say that I'll have probably another 30 years of my life with SJP. SJP enzyme food is not a drug, but as shown in the presentations, the primary reason that various diseases are being treated is very simple. The number of possible diseases is more than 10,000, but there's only one cause, which is a weakened immune system. Nobody can deny that there is no incurable disease by increasing the level of immunity. The causes of weakness in the immune system are nutritional imbalance and toxins in the body. SJP enzyme food is an enzyme fermented with 17 grains, including brown rice and a large amount of herbal medicines required for 60 trillion cells, increasing the level of the immunity system. I think that the whole body becomes healthier because the secondary effect makes cells healthier. I will briefly introduce how to self-treatment for obesity, atopy, diabetes, which are all incurable diseases in a hospital, and the right dietary habits of allowing you to enjoy a long life without illness. First, the World Health Organization has announced meat processed foods containing a large amount of food additives, such as preservatives, as first-class carcinogens. Chemical food additives are bactericides that kill fermenting bacteria. Antibiotics are stronger than bactericides in killing the bacteria, and excessive coffee and smoking can be poisonous. Second is intestine health. It's not necessarily healthy to both eat and defecate well, but when taking in breast milk, you have to observe odorless golden excrements. Be sure to check your excrement every morning in the toilet with your nose. If you do not feel a bad smell despite that you didn't eat breast milk or SJP enzyme food, you might have resistance to the smell of yours, like pig farmers who can't smell the pig's excrements. Third, white rice is malnourished because it's only 5% of nutrients. If you set a table with 5-grain rice and various vegetables and fruits, it is not just a table but a medical table. Here is how to turn a medical table into medicine. If you chew a spoon of rice and side dishes enough about 50 times separately, you can feel full even when you eat only a half a bowl of rice. The sense of satiety is a signal of 60 trillion cells saying, "Stop eating." But eating without chewing and filling your stomach with food give you the feeling of fullness that potentially causes obesity, diabetes, hypertension, dementia, cancer, and stroke. Fourth, drink water. Water is the best of the best medicines that makes your blood clear and discharges toxins out of your body. Be sure you drink 2.5 liters of water a day. Note that 0.9 salinity in the blood is essential. Doctors recommend that you take a low-salt diet while supplementing saline solution to an emergency patient. Too much saline is excreted through urine and sweat, but if it's too little, you would be desiccated. The last recommendation is to exercise. Note that too much is worse than too little, and try to do the proper exercise every day. Parents who give their health to their kids are wiser than those who inherit wealth to them. If you lose your health, nothing is precious. So take all the 5 recommendations and turn them into your own personal habits. Then you will rejuvenate like I did. I compare my face on KBS News when I received the presidential award in 2001 with my current face. Many people say that my current appearance looks more than 10 years younger than that of 16 years ago. Before I developed this food, I had erectile dysfunction, chronic fatigue, diabetes, myocardial infarction, but now I am not envious of those in their 40s. 90% of patients in general hospital emergency rooms used to be too confident of their health. There is no such a foolish person who is too confident in his health. I hope this lecture would be a good opportunity for you to stay healthy and to have the best of luck with your home and family. Thank you. If the intestine is healthy, the whole body is healthy. It is perfect for your intestinal health. It's perfect for your easiness in the bathroom.